I remember when I was in high school, I went to Winter's Mill, and I knew a lot of people, and some people thought that I was popular, but I was too weird to be popular, trust me. If you knew me then, I mean, you've probably heard enough stories, seen enough pictures to know that that just doesn't make sense. There's no equality. Why? How would he possibly? But here's what I think really happened. See, every day at lunch, my friend and I would go out, and we would do two things. We would always sit with people that were alone at lunch. We just started to make that our mission. It's simple, it's small, and yet it made a huge difference. And so there were lots of people that kind of joined our little table. It was like the island of misfit toys. If you remember the claymation Christmas movie, and it's like all these like crazy people with all these backgrounds. And honestly, it was so much fun. And you hear stories you never thought you'd hear, and you laugh, and it's crazy. And we love that. But the second thing we did is we would just go around and collect people's trash and throw it away for them, take the trays back up. Seems really, really simple. And I know with COVID and all, that probably is never going to be how it's done ever again anyway. But hear me out. I think the only reason people saw me the way they did was because I chose to do that, and I didn't have to, right? And so don't give me too much credit. In fact, I'm only telling you that as inspiration for you to do the same. Because I want to tell you about a principle in Scripture that I think is the singular thing, the key ingredient, the secret sauce to changing the world. Yeah, changing the world. And if you don't think you can change the world, you never will. But I believe with Jesus, we can change the world. Why? Well, because he already has. I mean, think of all the things that have happened because of Jesus. Traditions and cultures and life change and all sorts of people who have hope when they shouldn't, and who have joy when everything else is going against them. And I mean, it's crazy. God has changed the world. More so than that, he's changed my life. And I think this principle is the key ingredient. If you want to change the world, start here. It's called the extra mile mentality. And so back in the day, culturally, the Roman Empire was the leading power force, end all be all decision maker. They could tell you where to go, what to do, how to do it, when to do it, fill in the blank. And they weren't very nice to boot. And so there was a lot of, butting heads between Jewish people and other, cultures and backgrounds and places with the Roman Empire that was just taking over the world at whatever cost necessary. And so one of the rules that they had in place was that if there was a Jewish boy, I think 12 years or younger, Roman soldiers had permission legally to say, hey, carry all my gear for 1 mile, no questions asked. And if you didn't, the consequences were severe. And so imagine with me that you and I are there, right? That we're these kids, and all these Roman soldiers walk by and they say, hey, you got to carry our stuff. And we're just carrying their stuff. And this mile is an obligation. No choice about it. No questioning, no conversation, nothing. We're just doing what we had to do. And then Jesus challenges everything. In this excerpt in Matthew chapter 5, right? He's the Sermon on the Mount. He talks about everything, and he follows this with loving your enemies. But he starts by saying, you've heard that it was said, eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. I mean, hidden in this is the topic of grace, which is getting something you didn't deserve. Meaning, it's like, this was a bonus. I asked for your shirt, and then you gave me your whole wardrobe. That's a picture of grace. And so Jesus, it's not surprising that he teaches grace, because he demonstrates it, because he lives it. He never taught anything he didn't do. But now he says, now it's your turn. I want you to take on this attitude of grace, and one way to do it is this extra mile mentality. The first mile was obligation. The second mile is opportunity. Meaning you open the door to so many new realities, so many life-changing moments, so many earth-changing earth-shattering experiences simply because you're willing to be faithful to Jesus in going the extra mile for someone else. So, what I did in high school, don't give me too much credit, but because it was not obligation, it was opportunity. It was extra mile. And I think the only reason I had any popularity was simply because I did that and I didn't have to. And so what I'm saying to you is, don't do it for popularity. My gosh, that wasn't my motivation. It shouldn't be yours. Do it because Jesus says this will change the world. And it did. It made a difference for people. It was so simple and so small. And so here's my challenge. Go the extra mile in your relationships today. As in, find something to do that you don't have to do today for your parents, for your siblings, for your friends, for your neighbor. Some of y'all got some crazy situations at home, and I feel for you. I'm not trying to belittle those things. But the key to changing the world lies somewhere in this extra mile. I mean, think about you and I in this story, right? We're walking along, and we reach that 1 mile where, in the eyes of most, that's the end of the road. Thank you, you're done, I'll find the next kid. But you and I say, excuse me, actually, could we go another mile with you? Okay, right? I mean, I would imagine he'd be somewhat shocked that we would suggest that we'd be willing to do that. Can you imagine what was silence for the first mile might turn into some conversation in the second? Why are you doing this? Why are you helping me? What? Jesus? Because some guy told you to do this? Who is this guy? Why are you listening to him? But if that's the way we treated the world, if that's the way we treated not just our friends and family, but even our enemies, even the people that don't have our best in mind, if that's how we treated the people around us, don't you think they'd be curious about this Jesus? Don't you think they might have their life changed the way you and I did because of Jesus? So I think the key to the world changing is hidden somewhere in the extra mile. I don't know at what mile marker somebody meets Jesus along the road of unobligatory acts of random kindness, love, and sacrifice. But I do know you and I have the ability to do it. So don't wait. Today, go the extra mile. Do something you don't have to do for somebody, because it might just change the world, and I believe that that's possible. All right, love you guys. Take it easy. See y'all.